Welcome to the Becoming You show, where limits get torched and possibility takes the mic. I'm Leah Roling, human in permanent beta, neurostrategist, mom to 3 amazing humans, married to 1 legendary soul, and your no-fluff permission slip to stop waiting. Every week, we rewire brain patterns, smash hand-me-down mindsets, and dive into the daring, identity-shifting conversations most people dodge. Ready to turn potential into proof? Grab your pen. Your next chapter starts now. Hello, my beautiful friends. How are you? Welcome back to the Becoming You show. I'm your host, Leah Roling, and I am so grateful that you are here. If you are new, welcome. And if you tune in frequently, thank you. I see you. I like to think that you're right here with me as I'm bringing this conversation to you. Today's episode is talking about shoulds. And I brought this conversation up before on the podcast, but I wanted to bring it forward just a little bit deeper today. So I labeled this the tyranny of shoulds. And I added a subtitle that was breaking free from the lie of reality. Okay. And I believe that this might just be the episode that kind of changes the way you see everything. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's bring some honesty about the word that's been quietly, I might say, running and ruining your life. You have probably heard me say on the podcast before that I don't know is a lie. And it is, because I believe somewhere deep down, you always do know, right? We just haven't decided to tell ourselves the truth yet. And today, I want to expose the other lie, another lie. One that I believe quietly shapes, as I mentioned, how we live, how we love, how we lead, and how we suffer. And it's the lie inside of every should. Every time we offer up to ourselves and to the world and to anyone that will listen to us that life should be different somehow, that they should know better, that we should be farther along, that life shouldn't be this hard. We're not describing truth. We're not. We are actually fighting with reality. We're trying to bend what is into what we think it ought to be. And that's the real tyranny, right? Not the people around us, not our circumstances, but the invisible book of shoulds that we keep trying to make the world read from. So I want to ground this for you in something real, because I like to think that these conversations land best through story. So I had a client just last week that shared this experience with me. And again, like most things on my podcast, I either bring something forward that's happening in my life or something that's happening in my client's life, because my hope is that this is relatable somehow in some way. And she was at a seminar with her dad, and the room was full. The energy was high. The speaker was captivating. And then she looks to her left, and her dad was asleep. And she was mortified. And immediately her mind went to, he should be paying attention. He should show the speaker some respect. He should care more. And that embarrassment turned quickly into anger, and anger quickly turned into management. And then she spent the rest of the seminar trying to keep him awake, nudging him, whispering, watching him, watching everyone else instead of listening. to the speaker, this very captivating speaker. And here's the irony. In trying to keep her dad awake, she stopped being awake herself. In her demand that he be respectful, she offered her own disrespect to the speaker, to herself, to the moment. In her attempt to wake her father up in hopes that he would be more attentive to the speaker, she herself wasn't. That's that's what shoulds do. Because in her mind, in that moment, she had an expectation of her father, and it was riddled in shoulds. Her father should pay attention. Her father should not fall asleep. Her father should be more captivated by the speaker. Her father is embarrassing to her, and he shouldn't be. And so, shoulds hijack our very presence because, again, anytime we resist reality, we lose. And not only do they hijack our presence, but they kind of make hypocrites out of us, right? She was basically saying that he should be doing this and he should be doing that, and she was doing the same. And if we're honest, this isn't just her story, it's all of ours, okay? We tell our kids, don't be respectful, as we shout it across the house. We tell our teens, don't be lazy. And then we grow lazy in our own efforts to hold them accountable, to inspire them. We tell our partners that our preference would be that they listen to us more, better, while scrolling our phones, right? That the hypocrisy isn't malicious. It's unconscious. It's what happens when we mistake our shoulds for truth. We create this moral hierarchy out of our preference and then suffer when reality refuses to cooperate. So what's really happening beneath these patterns, right? Why do we care so much? Have you ever thought about that? Why do we care so much about people behaving the quote unquote right way? That was the question that kind of led me into this next part of the conversation that I want to talk about, which is dependency and its twin, codependency. So in psychology, dependency is what I'm going to call the emotional reliance on someone else to regulate our internal world. Okay. It sounds like this. I need you to act, I need you to behave this way, right? The way that I think you should, so I can feel okay. In the example, my client needed her father to behave in a certain way so that she was no longer embarrassed by him, right? So maybe that she could be proud or whatever the opposite was for her, right? I need my dad to stay awake, to be attentive, to listen to this speaker's captivating um, conversation so that I can feel better, so I can feel more secure. Okay. It's control disguised as morality. I mean, she made a really good argument for all of the reasons why her father should not have shut his eyes, to be exact. He wasn't actually sleeping, his eyes were just closed. Okay. Um, she offered up that this is just the right thing to do. Like, and everybody would say so. And that's what we do. We believe our own shoulds, and we will find proof that they exist. And there creates this shoulding creates this dependency that looks like I can't be peaceful unless you're predictable. I can't be engaged in this conversation if you aren't. I can't feel worthy unless you approve. I can't relax unless you align with my version of right. That's dependency. It's the emotional leash that we place on the world to keep our nervous system calm. Okay. And then we have codependency. Codependency wears like a softer costume, but it all comes from the same fear. If dependency says you have to change so I can be okay, codependency says I'll change me so that you can be okay because then I'll finally feel safe, right? Codependency looks like care, but it's still management. It's the subtle belief that if I can keep you stable, polite, happy, successful, fill in the blank, then maybe finally I can relax. And that's not love. That's fear doing its best impression of love. So if we think about it, dependency controls others, and codependency abandons ourself. And both are built on the illusion that our peace, that our safety, that our worth, that our comfort live outside of us. So the real work isn't labeling ourselves dependent or codependent. Okay. The real work is asking, what do I believe has to be true for me to feel safe, for me to feel loved, for me to feel right? Because under every should, there's a solid belief, one we most likely inherited, not one we chose. There is a solid belief, right, that other people complete us, right? That wholeness is something we earn through approval, through affection, through attention, through accolades. But if someone else can complete you, then what else is true, friends? What else is true? If someone can complete you, then what else is true is that they can break you. They can break you. And I want you to let that sit for just a little bit because in all of the conversations that I bring forward, it's all about ownership. It's all about personal empowerment, right? We've we've been sold the belief that the only way to be right is if someone else is wrong. And that our identity really depends on contrast and not consciousness, right? And in that, unconsciously, of course, we need people to fail. We need people to fall short. We need people to behave badly just so that our ego can stay safe in its superiority. We've been sold that our lovability depends on us, right? On how good, how kind, how beautiful, or how successful we are. But lovability has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with the capacity of the person doing the loving. When someone loves us, that's about their heart, their availability, their perception. And when they can't, that's not proof. That's not proof that we're not lovable. It's just simply evidence that they can't access their own love yet. And yet we believe these lies. We believe that other people complete us, that if they were just better, that we would be better. I mean, how many times have we said, I'm good as long as my kids are good, or I'm good as long as that's that completing lie that we've been led to believe is true. And because we believe these lies, we become codependent on people needing to behave a certain way for us to feel loved, for us to feel safe, for us to feel right. And then in that, we write invisible manuals for them, rule books that they've never agreed to. And then we judge and withdraw and explode when they fail to follow them. In our books of should, I call it the should book, there are sections in there, and you have a book too, love, where we need people to operate according to our shoulds so that we can feel safe. We need people to be wrong so that we can be right. We need people to love us in a certain way so that we can believe that we're lovable. And these are just 3 of the hundreds of lies that we have believed to be true. All of that is dependency disguised as connection. So where did all these shoulds come from? Okay. They didn't start with us, as I mentioned. Most of them are inherited and most of them are unconscious. All of them taught to us. Every should we live is born out of the systems that raised us. So if we think about family, family taught us how to belong. We learned, I guess I learned early on, that being good earned love, being the good one. That obedience, right, doing the right thing, created safety, and that pleasing others kept the peace. So I shaped myself into whatever version of should made me feel accepted. School teaches us how to perform. School taught me to raise your hand, to follow the rules, to not color outside the lines. School taught me that there was a right way, that there was an authority figure and I was not it. School taught me that I needed permission to speak. And if I didn't have it, then I needed to keep my thoughts, my ideas to myself. And if my thoughts were different than what they were proposing, they were just wrong. And so for me, I learned that correctness was safer than curiosity. And that other people being right, allowing that to be my reality, was more valuable than me being real. And then we have religion, right? Religion teaches us morality, but sometimes without any sort of nuance, right? We learn that we should forgive. We learn that we should obey. We learn that we should be humble. And when we can't, we learned guilt. And in that, at least I confused moral behavior with worthiness and thought love was conditional on compliance. And then our shoulds come from culture, right? If you can't find all of your shoulds in your family upbringing, if you can't find all of your shoulds in how academics and school had shaped you, and if you can't find it in religion, then culture, right? Layering identity over everything, right? Culture tells us what beauty should look like, what success should feel like, what happiness should cost. And so we began measuring our worth against illusions. We began measuring our safety, our lovability, our own truth against what the world tells us it should look like. And for me, it asked me to chase belonging at the cost of being. And these systems are not malicious, right? They They are truly just mirrors of the consciousness of their time. But we inherited these rules without questioning their relevance. So now, when life doesn't go according to our shoulds, it's not just disappointing, it feels dangerous. Because should is no longer just an idea, it's our survival code. So, what do I mean by the survival code? Our brain, right? Our brain joins in on this little conspiracy, if you will. Our brain was designed to scan for danger, not just physical danger anymore. Okay, now it scans for emotional danger. So when someone breaks a should, right, when reality doesn't match our rule book, doesn't matter where the rule came from, the brain sets off the same alarm it would for a tiger in the bushes. Our heart races, our stomach tightens, thoughts speed up. It feels very real. We don't think. We don't think. We don't even question the should of it. We just double down in protection mode. We react. We call it anxiety. We call it stress. We call it overwhelm. My client called it embarrassment. But what's really happening is this. Our brain is saying, this isn't how it's supposed to be. And then our brain equates that to a lack of safety, a lack of emotional stability. My client, this isn't how it's supposed to be. Dads are not supposed to close their eyes. Dads are not supposed to fall asleep in a conference. Therefore, I'm unsafe. Therefore, I'm emotionally uncomfortable. I'm embarrassed. And our dependency on should becomes a dependency on control, right? We start chasing safety by managing the world, by managing dads that shut their eyes at a conference instead of meeting it. And the tragedy then is our nervous system believes surrender. What do I mean by surrender? Allowing, accepting equals danger. So we tighten up, we argue, all to protect a sense of safety that was never at risk. My client was never at risk. Nothing was going to happen to my client that her dad's eyes were shut. What was really fascinating is I asked her, if it was anybody other than your father, would there have been any embarrassment? Of which she said no. So it wasn't about someone showing disrespect, which is what she was initially appalled at in a conference. It was the meaning that she gave to her father and this expectation of should that she had with her father that was unmet, that created all of this suffering. So, what if it's all backwards? What if all of this is just backwards? What if the greatest safety you'll ever know is the kind that doesn't depend on the world behaving? Because wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be awesome if our suffering was not dependent on the world and what other people do or what they don't do, how people behave and how they don't behave, what people say and what they don't say? Wouldn't that be cool? Because it's available. It's available. Here's your invitation. The next time you hear yourself say, they shouldn't have, or I should be, they shouldn't have shut their eyes, I should be, I want you to pause and ask, what belief am I protecting right now? Is it the belief that I need to be loved to be whole? That I need to be right to be worthy? That I need everyone to act the way I want and need them to feel safe? Because the moment you see the belief beneath the should, you unlock and unhook from the lie that's been running your life. There is a belief behind every should that is making you suffer. I promise you this is true. It's the belief that's making you suffer. It's not what the other person is doing that is making you suffer. And when you unlock that lie, something extraordinary opens up. It opens up freedom. It opens up a next level of maturity in your own life. If dependency says, I can't feel good until you behave, if codependency says, I'll make myself smaller so you can behave the way that you need to so that then I can feel safe. Freedom says, you get to be you and I still get to be okay. That's emotional maturity. That's self-leadership. And that is what it means to be whole inside of a world that will never fully agree with you. So when we finally drop the word should, right? There is a better version of you available. Because if we think about should, okay, every should assumes that there is a better version of reality than the one in front of you. Every time you fight with reality, reality wins. Martha Beck, for that little nugget. If should tricks us into believing that suffering is noble, that control is leadership, and that blame is accountability, we suffer. And so the freedom comes from reframing shoulds to is. So we say they should know better instead of asking, why do I expect them to be? We say I should be further along instead of asking, what belief am I holding about where I am? So I'll leave you with this. What are the shoulds you're still serving? What are the beliefs about those shoulds? Where are you bending reality into your version of right and calling it truth? And what would it look like if you stopped arguing with life and start aligning with it? Because this right here, this messy, beautiful, imperfect moment, that is reality. And it's not wrong. And it's not right. It just is. And when you can meet life as it is without the armor of should, you won't just see reality clearly. You'll finally see yourself. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining in. If this episode stirred something in you, if it helped you see yourself and your story in a brand new light, would you share it? Text it to a friend, post it on your story, tag me in Instagram. You never know who might need to hear the reminder that life doesn't run on shoulds. It runs on is. So I'll see you next week, where we always go deeper into what it means to live awake, to live aware, and to live absolutely free. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. If this episode cracked something open, good. Let it. And then head to leahrolingcoaching.com and grab the tools to rewire the story and reclaim your future. It is yours. And then share this with someone who's still waiting to be chosen, still waiting for permission, and remind them they don't need a breakthrough, that they are the breakthrough. Until next time, my beautiful friends, invest in you and keep becoming.